really wanted to do. But the other studios, Warner Brothers, and they started hedging. And wisely, my agent, who's still my agent until about 6 months ago, he's retired, the great Rick Nacita called me and said, look, I think you better do this movie, because the other one I think is going to go away. You know, they're dancing around and they want you. I said, Rick, I don't understand a flick, man. and he said, look, it's got you and it's going to have you and Lithgow in it. That's it at this point. So, and John Lithgow was sort of not a generation, but John Lithgow was when I first started doing theater in New York, because I come from the theater, Lithgow was already a very made name in the theater. Fantastically inventive actor on stage, and I knew that Lithgow's in it would be great, and so I signed on to it for chump change, man.
But they signed us up for 5 sequels.
Yeah, they did.
They actually did. So they still have contracts on us.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll be doing the geezer irregulars, you know.
I'd be first in line for that. So.
Yeah.
Right there.
Why wasn't there a second one?
Well, the one guy went to federal prison for bank fraud, and the other guy blew his brains out in Century City Plaza. And the thing is, like, you know, both those guys are really good guys. I stay in touch with the guy who was in the joint, and he's out now and doing fine. No, David blew his brains out. Bruce.
David Begelman.
Yeah.
And then there was Sidney Beckerman.
Sidney Beckerman was a great guy. He was the sort of hands-on guy, and I know he's not doing well, physically, but he's...
Can I tell this story about
Go ahead.
Sidney?
Yeah, tell him.
We were all living... Well, were you still on Sycamore at that time?
No.
At one time, we all lived on Sycamore, and I was living on Sycamore, just a block north of Beverly. I used to come here every week. Next door to me, and I got a song out of it, too, lived this beautiful older actress of 41 who was the mistress of Sidney Beckerman. You didn't know this.
Mariana?
Yes.
Yeah, Mariana Hill?
Yes. and so I saw Sidney.
You know who she is? Anybody know who Mariana Hill is?
Great actress.
Yeah. You know who she is?
Nutty as a fruitcake. So I see him bringing her home. So every day when I got on the set, Sidney walks over to me and says, Billy, how the hell are you, pal? Oh, great to see you. And Peter's over here going, I'm the fucking star. Why is he going to you and talking to you before he talks to me? I said, gee, I don't know, Peter.
Yeah, I'll take that with a grain of salt because I don't know.
Well, we embellish.
Yeah, we do embellish. Yeah, as many times as I have been an asshole, I don't know if I was ever an asshole.
No, but you were joking. You were joking.
But also, you know, Sidney Beckerman. Sidney Beckerman was one of the great, produced Clint Eastwood's movies, and one of the great all-time hammer producers. Nowadays, it's all run by ninth-grade marketing guys. But Mariana Hill, wow.
Wow. Our bedrooms had a common wall.
Yeah.
Mariana's
Godfather too.
And one time, she was Fredo's wife.
Medium cruel. She's stark naked.
Right. So how I met Mariana was,
and that thing with Lee Van Cleef and James Brown. That amazing. What it was.
How I met Mariana was, she knocked on my door, and I hear somebody knocking out there, and I hear somebody singing, woo, 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 I ain't got no home. You know, I can sing like a girl. I said, who the hell is this? I opened my door, and here's this beautiful woman dressed in, not a look-alike, but the very gown that Rita Hayworth wore in Gilda. The very gown. And I said, wow. I said, and she just walked in. And she said, you know, I listen at your wall. She said, last week you had 2 girls, one in the afternoon and one in the night. And I'm like this, you know. And she said, can I come and hide in your closet one night and watch? My introduction to Mariana, the great Mariana Hill.
And Billy said, you don't have to hide.
The tinsel and glitter world of showbiz.
Is that a question back there? Or is it somebody's? Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to say thank you very much. I love
Thank you. But the great Michelangelo Antonioni.
Yeah.
È un maestro veramente lui.
I had a question for you guys in that, are there any stories, whether homages to your work in this film, or somebody coming up to you that surprised you, like the most surprising story, someone referencing your work in this movie? You might have stories of?
I can't think. There was a bar in New York called Perfect Tommy for years. That's about. But
What happened to him?
What happened to who?
Perfect Tommy.
Louis? I think he's teaching acting in the Valley. I think.
I know when our record was hot in '87, when At This Moment was big, when we'd go on the road, and everywhere we played throughout the country, there would always be 30, 35 people who would not be coming to hear the number one record, but they'd bring me pink gifts. and they said, "Come on, can you stand on the horse again? Can you do that?"
Yeah, I can't think of an homage, but I'm sure there are. Yeah.
Are there any great John Lithgow or Jeff Goldblum stories from on set?
The ones I can't tell. The nuttiest time, I can only remember this, is that I knew Lithgow tangentially from theater in New York. I knew Lloyd a long time because we'd done 3 plays together, and also my very first film, Butch and Sundance, the early years, where Chris and I were snowbound together in Alamosa, Colorado, when they stopped shooting for 2 weeks. So Chris was like a buddy, a long-time buddy. But Chris is truly a force of nature. There's no animal on planet Earth like Chris Lloyd. And Chris Lloyd is truly a guy who can sit in a room and say nothing for 45 minutes. Nothing. I give you an example. We were doing a Shakespeare play, the Scottish play, the famous Scottish play. If you've been in it, you can't say it, so I won't say it. But M-A-C-T-E. And we're doing a production of it with some very great actors. Christopher Walken, John Hurd, Danny Hedaya is in it, who's also in this, and Stephen Collins, and Carol McCormick, Carol Kane. And they had this problem with the set. And we're in a vomitorium, which is an entranceway. It's very dark, and they're doing light cues. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And so Christopher Walken, who, by the way, thinks that Chris Lloyd is the strangest person on planet Earth. Does that give you a clue? If Walken, who happens to be born on Mars, and is maybe one of my first 3 friends ever, and sort of a mentor to me. Anyway, we honestly, if you ever run into any of this with John Hurd, John Roddick, Hedaya, Carol Kane, any of them, we're sitting in this vomitorium. There's only one little cue light. You could barely see. We're sitting in the dark. It's sort of made up half costumes. And Walken starts to tell stories which are hysterical, and we're laughing. They keep telling us to keep it down while we're doing the light cues. We must be there for an hour and a half. Oh, well over an hour. And John Hurd is also inventively crazy. And we're telling us, we're laughing. Truly, after an hour, somebody said something, and we heard from underneath one of these banquettes. And theaters are spooky places, and there's always this belief in ghosts and theaters and so forth. And like all 8 of us, jumped the hell up. My God, what is that? What is that? And then we hear this voice go, "I know a joke." And Lloyd crawls out from underneath the banquette, where he has been for over an hour, just meditating in his Lloyd world, about what he's hearing. And it's one of the strangest ever. But he's a buddy. But I have to say, when you see the scene with them electrocuting me, when they're torturing me, and Lloyd is standing behind me eating Doritos or something, I don't know what he's doing, but John Lithgow is so crazy with this Italian, the pseudo-Italian or Sicilian thing that he's doing on with his eyes and his head. And Lloyd is standing behind me. When they were doing my close-ups, they had to do 50 takes of me because I couldn't stop laughing. 50 takes. If you're standing between Lithgow with this torturously insane face and accent. And Lloyd's peculiar piece of madness between the two of them, and you're the crossfire between these two lunatics. I could not stop laughing, and that is. And finally, my producer goes, "You must shoot this scene. We must get out of here." I said, "Well, you're going to have to ask somebody to read their lines or something, because I can't."